Blood sugar doesn't usually rise with a loud warning. After 50, it creeps up quietly, one morning at a time, one meal at a time. Many people assume this is inevitable, something written into aging itself. But the body is far more responsive than most realize, especially when it comes to food. What you eat after 50 doesn't just feed hunger, it sends instructions to your cells. The first food that quietly helps restore balance is leafy green vegetables, spinach, kale, Swiss chard. They don't announce their power, they work in silence. These greens are rich in magnesium, a mineral deeply involved in insulin sensitivity. After 50, magnesium levels often decline due to reduced absorption and higher stress. When magnesium drops, insulin struggles to move glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells where it belongs. Leafy greens slow digestion, reduce glucose spikes, and calm inflammation that interferes with metabolic control. They don't force blood sugar down, they gently guide it. Then there's a food many people overlook because it seems too simple. Beans and lentils. Not flashy, not trendy, but profoundly effective. These foods are packed with soluble fiber, which forms a gel-like substance in the gut. This slows the absorption of carbohydrates, preventing sharp blood sugar rises after meals. After 50, digestion naturally slows, and gut bacteria change. Beans feed beneficial bacteria that improve insulin signaling over time. They also provide plant-based protein, which stabilizes blood sugar by slowing gastric emptying. The effect isn't dramatic in one meal, but over weeks it's transformative. The third food works at a deeper level, inside the cells themselves. Fatty fish, like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. These are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation, a hidden driver of insulin resistance. After 50, low-grade inflammation becomes more common, often without obvious symptoms. Omega-3s improve the flexibility of cell membranes, allowing insulin receptors to function more effectively. This means glucose can enter cells with less resistance. Blood sugar levels stabilize not because the body is forced into control, but because it becomes more efficient again. What makes these foods powerful is not speed, it's consistency. They work with the body, not against it. Many people focus only on sugar itself, but blood sugar regulation is a full body process involving the gut, muscles, liver, and hormones. These foods support them all, quietly, patiently. And there are still foods that work even more subtly, ones that influence blood sugar without ever tasting sweet, ones that help the body remember how balance feels. Another food that plays this quiet role is nuts, especially almonds and walnuts. A small handful can change the entire metabolic response to a meal. Nuts contain healthy fats, fiber, and plant compounds that slow carbohydrate digestion. After 50, muscle mass decreases, and muscles are the primary place where glucose is stored. Nuts help reduce the speed at which glucose enters the bloodstream, giving muscles time to absorb it efficiently. Walnuts also contain alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 that further reduces inflammation. What's important is portion and timing. Nuts don't spike blood sugar, they smooth it. They act like a buffer between what you eat and how your blood responds. Then there is a food that many people fear but shouldn't. Berries. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. Naturally sweet, yet remarkably blood sugar friendly. Berries are low on the glycemic index and high in polyphenols, plant compounds that improve insulin sensitivity. After 50, the liver becomes less efficient at handling glucose surges. Berries help reduce oxidative stress in the liver, improving its ability to regulate sugar release into the bloodstream. They satisfy sweetness without triggering the metabolic chaos that refined sugar causes. These foods don't demand restriction, they invite replacement. As blood sugar stabilizes, something else begins to happen quietly. Energy becomes steadier. Cravings soften. The sharp highs and lows begin to fade. This is because stable blood sugar reduces stress hormones like cortisol, which otherwise push glucose into the bloodstream. When cortisol stays high, blood sugar follows. Food that calms inflammation and digestion also calms the nervous system. After 50, this connection becomes more important than ever. Muscles become less responsive to insulin if they aren't used regularly. That's why pairing these foods with gentle movement, walking, stretching, amplifies their effect. Food opens the door, movement invites glucose inside. Many people wait for blood sugar to become a diagnosis before changing how they eat, but the body begins adapting long before numbers cross a clinical line. These foods support balance early, quietly, and consistently. They don't punish the body, they remind it how to work. And when eaten regularly, they begin to change not just blood sugar readings, but how mornings feel, how energy lasts, how the body recovers. Which brings us to something just as important as what you eat: how the body responds overnight.
After 50, nighttime blood sugar stability becomes fragile. Even small spikes during sleep can disrupt deep rest, increase morning fatigue, and raise fasting glucose levels. Foods that lower blood sugar quietly do something powerful during the night. They reduce volatility. Leafy greens reduce inflammation that interferes with sleep hormones. Beans and lentils release glucose slowly, preventing nighttime drops that trigger stress hormones. Fatty fish improves cell signaling that continues working long after digestion ends. Nuts provide sustained fuel that keeps blood sugar steady. Berries reduce oxidative stress that accumulates during sleep. Together, they create an environment where the body doesn't have to fight for balance. Over time, the pancreas works less frantically, insulin becomes more effective, the liver releases glucose more calmly, muscles store energy more willingly. These are not dramatic changes, they are quiet corrections. That's why these foods are so often underestimated. After 50, the body doesn't respond well to extremes. Crash diets, sudden eliminations, aggressive restrictions, these raise stress hormones and worsen insulin resistance. The body becomes defensive. Blood sugar becomes unpredictable. But gentle consistency does the opposite. It signals safety. And when the body feels safe, it regulates itself better. This is why people who shift toward these foods often notice something unexpected. They wake up with clearer minds, less stiffness, fewer cravings, more stable energy. Not because blood sugar is being forced down, but because the systems controlling it are no longer overwhelmed. Food becomes information, and the message these foods send is simple: you are supported. Blood sugar control after 50 isn't about perfection, it's about rhythm, repetition, choosing foods that work quietly in the background while you live your life. When the body no longer has to fight its own fuel, it frees energy for healing, movement, and clarity. And that quiet support, repeated day after day, becomes one of the most powerful forms of care you can give yourself after 50.